friends, we're visiting the Pacific Northwest again for another weeknight wine. And this one is one of my faves, both the wine and the grape, because they're super interesting. The grape that this wine is made with is Pinot Noir, and this is an A to Z Wine Works from Oregon. But Oregon is not where Pinot Noir is from. Actually, Burgundy in France is where it's from. And it is basically the red wine grape of Burgundy. So if you hear somebody saying, oh, I had a fabulous red Burgundy last night, you can think to yourself, they had Pinot Noir. Now you know. So Pinot Noir has been around for over 2,000 years. That's before the Romans, people, and it has done a lot for our wine world as we know it today, because Pinot Noir was the relative of grapes that we know a lot about, like Chardonnay, Syrah, Merlot. In fact, I got out my wine grapes book to look at its lineage, and take a look at this. This is Wine Grapes by Jancis Robinson, the wine guru, and some of her friends as well. And this is the parentage of Pinot Noir, and we start with Pinot up here, and then you can go through and look at like Syrah and Chardonnay, things that you are familiar with. So Pinot is really important in the wine world as well. The name Pinot Noir is also super interesting in that Pinot means pine cone and Noir means black. So it's named for the shape of the grape cluster. So these are little tiny thin-skinned black grapes, and they're all in a cluster just like a pine cone. So this Pinot Noir, it's thin-skinned, remember? And it's also a little bit of a challenge. In fact, it's so much of a challenge that winemakers call it the heartbreak grape. Because of the thin skins, it gets everything that comes into the vineyard. It gets disease, it gets mold, it gets mildew. So that is one reason why Pinot Noir might be a little bit more expensive than some of the other wines that you enjoy. But this one from A to Z Wine Works is under $20. It's about $16 in the grocery store. Yay! And it is an interesting story behind the A to Z Wine Works. It is a group of winemakers from really pedigreed wineries like Erie and Chehalem that got together in 2002, and they got together and formed a wine company so that they could make Oregon wine from Pinot Noir that was affordable and delicious. And it truly is. So actually, it's so good and so delicious that Food and Wine named it the best Pinot under $20. And also it's hit the Wine Spectator Best 100 Wines more than twice. So here we go. Let's taste the Pinot together. And the first thing we're gonna do is look at the color. And when we put that glass down against a white paper so we can see the color, we can see that it is a red color, ruby, but it's also not quite as dense in color. And that's because it came from, remember, that thin-skinned grape. And thinner skinned grapes have lighter in density color than others. Now I'm gonna swirl and smell. And this is actually a Pinot Noir glass. It's got a big fat bulbous body, and then it comes up and kind of goes out to the side so that we can really capture the flavor or the aroma of the wine when we smell it. Oh my gosh, it smells like plums and cherries and a little bit of warm baking spices as well. Oh yes, and this glass of course helps, I think, because it's so pretty. All right, let's taste it together. Okay, if I ask myself the first easiest question to ask about wine, which is, does it taste like it smells? I say yes, it does. I get those cherries, those plums, a little bit of spice. Next, I'm gonna check two things, the acidity by letting it run down on either side of the back of my tongue. It's got nice acidity. Remember, acidity helps wine, whole fruit flavor over time, helps it balance the flavor, and it also adds a lot of brightness that goes really well with food, and we love drinking our wine with food, right? So the other thing I did was run it up underneath my front lip, and it doesn't have a lot of tannin. Remember, tannin comes from skins and seeds, might even come from stems. And remember, this is a thin skin grape, so not a lot of tannin on this one. It's just enjoyable and juicy. And I love what A to Z has on the back of the bottle. It says, beautifully balanced, aromatic, and delicious. This wine makes food sing, and sometimes your guests too. So there's nothing wrong with a little bit of fun, right? With wine, it's just a beverage. We want to have a good time with it. Talking food, two things come to mind immediately when I taste this wine. Salmon, whether it's roasted or grilled, is a great pairing for this Pinot. And the cheese I would choose for this wine is one of my favorites. It's called Rogue River Blue. Rogue River Creamery is in Oregon, and you can find this cheese in a grocery store that has a good cheese counter, like Kroger or Whole Foods. So that blue cheese, oh my gosh, think about this. Think about a salad with some grilled salmon on top and a little sprinkle of some of that blue cheese. La, that sounds like heaven to me. I hope you enjoy the A to Z Pinot Noir. About $16 in the grocery store. I'll be back next week with another yummy weeknight wine. Until then, cheers.